everyone, today we'll be making a video about the 22 Hornet and also about the newly reinvented 17 Hornet. Now it's important to remember that the 22 Hornet was invented about 1930. Now somewhere in the mid-1950s, a gentleman with the last name of Ackley took that 22 Hornet cartridge and he necked it down to a 17 caliber. And he called it the 17 Ackley Hornet. That cartridge was more of a wildcat cartridge. It never really went mainstream until about 60 years later when the Hornady Corporation got a hold of that 17 Ackley Hornet, tweaked it just a little bit, and called it the 17 Hornet, and it's really taken off in popularity since. So today we're going to get out a cheat sheet. We're going to look at some of the numbers between the 17 Hornet and the 22 Hornet. And then we're going to go out into the field and do some ballistics testing on both cartridges. And then we're going to return to the coffee table here for some final thoughts. We hope that you'll remember to click like on the video if you do like it. And we're looking forward to your comments for sure. And we thank you in advance for subscribing, and we sure do thank you for watching. Okay, looking from left to right here, I've got a 22 long rifle lined up, then a 22 mag, and then we've got 17 Hornet 20 grain ballistic tip. Then we've got 25 grain 17 Hornet, and then on the far right hand side we have 22 Hornet 45 grain soft point. Okay, let's take a look at this cheat sheet here. Moving from left to right, we've got the 20 grain 17 Hornet, then the 25 grain 17 Hornet, and then the 45 grain 22 Hornet. Notice with that 20 grain 17 Hornet that it has a BC, meaning ballistic coefficient of 0.185, and then the 25 grain 17 Hornet ballistic coefficient of 0.189. Notice that that's much higher than the ballistic coefficient of the 22 Hornet, which is only at a 0.13. For those of you who may not know what ballistic coefficient is, it's a measure of how efficient a bullet is. It's slicing through the wind without being blown around by the wind, and it's a measure of how efficient a bullet is at retaining its starting speed downrange. Now, as far as our muzzle velocities are concerned, we're up here at 3650 feet per second on that 20 grain 17 Hornet. We're a little slower at 3375 on that 25 grain, and we're down here at 2690 feet per second on that 22 Hornet. Although we have slower starting speed with the 22 Hornet, take a look, we do have better foot-pounds of energy, at least at the start, with 722 foot-pounds, comparing that to 632 foot-pounds of energy and 591 foot-pounds of energy on the both of the 17 Hornet rounds. But again, we don't really shoot animals 2 inches away from the rifle barrel. None of us are that skilled at calling in animals. So a little more realistic comparison would be at 50 yards. Moving down here to 50 yards, all of a sudden your foot-pounds of energy has gone from 722 down to about 554. Here you've gone from 632 down to about 534, and 591 down to about 499. So the foot-pounds of energy are actually pretty close at that distance. If we move further down the chart out to 100 yards, you'll notice that even the 20 grain 17 Hornet has slightly surpassed the 22 Hornet with muzzle or with foot-pounds of energy, and the 25 grain 17 Hornet is certainly past it at that point, 450 compared to 417. If we move down the chart further out to 150 yards, you're at about 309 foot-pounds on your 22 Hornet, 377 on your 17 Hornet with your 25 grain bullet, and 353 foot-pounds on your 20 grain bullet. When we get out here to 200 yards, you're looking at about 227 foot-pounds of energy on your 22 Hornet, which isn't bad, but it's nothing compared to the 294 or the 314 foot-pounds of energy. Again, that 294 foot-pounds of energy at 200 yards, that's actually 30% more than the 22 Hornet, and that 25 grain 17 Hornet has got 38% more energy at 200 yards. So I figured the best place to shoot some water jugs would be the 50-yard mark, because at that distance the 22 Hornet still has a fighting chance. It does have slower speed for sure at that distance, but it does have a little bit more foot-pounds overall to help it make up for its slower speed. It does have a lot of weight working for it. So we're going to go shoot some water jugs at 50 yards, and we'll be back in a few minutes here. Getting ready to shoot at these 3 water jugs. They're lined up one behind the other. We're at a distance of 50 yards. We'll be shooting a 17 Hornet 20 grain bullet. Okay, we're walking up to the 3 water jugs right now that were just hit with a 20 grain bullet, 17 Hornet, 50 yards away. The first water jug is pretty well destroyed, but take a look at the water jug right behind it. No damage done. Some of the kinetic energy pushed the 3rd water jug over, but no damage at all to jugs number 2 or 3. But the first water jug was pretty well hammered there. There's 3 water jugs down there. They are exactly 50 yards away, lined up one behind the other. We'll be shooting with a 17 Hornet 25 grain hollow point. Walking up to the 3 water jugs that were just hit with a 25 grain 17 Hornet from 50 yards. As you can see, the first water jug is pretty well demolished. And we do actually have some penetration this time into the second water jug, although it's still about half full with water. No damage at all on that 3rd water jug. And it looks like the bullet has not exited the back of this water jug. Looks like the bullet is mostly intact. We'll take that out in a moment here. Pour it out of here in a moment. Okay, this is what's left of the 25 grain hollow point 17 Hornet after going through 1.5 water jugs from a distance of 50 yards. We have 4 water jugs lined up at a distance of 50 yards, getting ready to shoot them with a 22 Hornet 45 grain soft point. Okay, we're walking up right now to these 4 water jugs that were just hit with a 45 grain 22 Hornet from 50 yards. As you can see, the first water jug was pretty well blown up here. Here's the first one. Bullet did a lot of damage on that second water jug as well. Moving into the 3rd water jug, you can see where it went in right there. It did not actually get through that 3rd water jug. 4th water jug unharmed. Down in there is the, I don't know if you can see that or not, the slug is down there at the bottom. We'll pour out this water and recover this, this bullet in a minute here. Okay, this is the recovered 45 grain soft point 22 Hornet. Pulled it out of the 3rd water jug a few moments ago. It's kind of what that looks like there. Well, thanks again for watching the shooting footage. I'm definitely looking forward to your comments to let me know what you thought of it. One of the things that I noticed when I was out there at 50 yards, it seems like that 22 Hornet does offer an edge in terms of a deeper explosion. It wasn't a super violent explosion on that first water jug that it hit, but the water jug right behind it had a lot of damage done to it, more so than what either of the 17 Hornets could offer for sure. So if I'm hitting a larger animal like a 40-pound coyote and I'm at a distance of 50 yards, I'm opting for the 22 Hornet every day of the week and twice on Sunday. However, I don't really have any guarantees at what distance I'm going to shoot at coyotes at. I hunt in a lot of wide open areas. I hope it's 50 yards. I hope it's 35 yards, honestly. But realistically speaking, I might need to take a shot at 150, 175, even 220 yards. That being the case, the 22 Hornet probably isn't the best cartridge for those distances. So in that case, I'm opting for the 17 Hornet, and I'm not going to use the 20 grain bullet. I'm going to opt for the 25 grain bullet, which will have as much foot-pounds of energy downrange as I can get downrange. Looking forward again to your comments, and thanks for watching today.